Welcome to the presentation of spiral dynamics theory. I will give you today a very short and brief overview of the theory and its possible applications and how it changes the perspectives that you may have. So I will start with a quote of Albert Einstein, who said that we can't solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So does this refer to the current world situation where we really need to shift our mindsets in order to be able to solve the new complexity of the problems? And what exactly does that level of thinking mean? What defines the way we see the world and the living conditions we are in? Spiral dynamics refers to values, and it helps to understand values that drive people, teams, or organizations better in order to be able to plan the changes and understand actually the evolution of these values, that this is quite natural process. And obviously, we do want to create some structures and processes that will help us to solve the challenges we face. So all of that, I personally find that spiral dynamics is a really helpful way of seeing and understanding what's happening. So it's based on the research of Dr. Clare Graves. He started his work in the middle of the 20th century, and it was more than 30 years of field research, trying to find what the values people have. Are there any differences between them, what and why they believe in? So basically, he discovered that humans evolve through distinct set of development stages. He called them V-memes, value memes, and each next value meme was developed as an answer to the change in living conditions in order to be able to cope and interact with them. So basically, this theory is a double helix model, which means that we have living conditions on the one hand side, and we also have our individual or group capacities to cope with these living conditions. And the interaction between the two provides constant and quite natural evolutionary process. This theory was developed and popularized by Don Beck and Chris Cowan, who worked directly with Dr. Clare Graves. They published a book. They gave this theory a name, spiral dynamics, and they also added the colors to make the discussion around the levels of thinking, the levels of values to be easier and more visualized, I would say. Also, we can find references to spiral dynamics in the work of Ken Wilber, who used to work with Don Beck as well at some point and developed the integrated the integral approach to the spiral dynamics theory, introducing his 4 quadrants. So if we talk about the theory itself, as I mentioned, the object of the theory is about values, and it talks about values as something that defines how we behave, how we make decisions, how we perceive the reality, and also it does give an insight into a constant process of evolution as a response to the change in living conditions. The picture on the right, I love it very much because it does show brilliantly how we grow into a more complex system which embeds all the previous value systems inside. So basically it starts from the beige level and grows into purple, red, blue, and so on. So each time becoming more and more complex, being able to deal with more and more complex living conditions. Another way to see it is to understand that these memes, they transcend and they include one each other. And if you look at this picture and try to imagine that we take out the 3 inner levels, it will feel more empty. That's exactly how you can see in individuals, teams, or organizations when suddenly the higher, more complex value systems are present while missing more simple ones. In the whole, it doesn't give the necessary complexity to be able um, to see the general picture at the new level of values the individual may be in. In organizations, spiral dynamics can be very helpful in order to understand the cultural processes, the evolution of processes, and actually any change management initiative can be well understood through the lens of spiral dynamics. So the basics of applied spiral dynamics for organizations is to understand that all people are indeed driven by values, but not necessarily by the same ones. And that's where we start talking about value management and willing to understand what cultural values are and trying to look for people who meet the same values. For organization, it's usually, we speak about 6 distinct types of these values. You can see them on the picture, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. Here at Xanogy, we use the value match assessment tools in order to define the center of gravity within an organization, so towards which value meme is inclined, but also to understand what are personal values of every individual in order to see if they can really benefit from the cultural, organizational culture, and if they can really perform in this culture. So spiral dynamics basically describes all these value memes and gives an insight into each particular value meme, value system, talking about what cultural aspects usually appear, how the behavior is observed, and also what processes can be best beneficial for this type of organization. It does also define the social environment we find ourselves or we create if we are, for example, in the head of the organization. Now I would like you to have a short introduction into each value meme, looking at the role of the leadership in organization. Although in this picture you see the letters of the ladder of the development through the value memes, it does not necessarily mean it should be linear, following one after another. We may develop one value meme early in life and then feel that we need something else to be developed later on. So why it's positioned here like this is to show 2 very important aspects. So the more complex the value system is, the less control and guidance the leadership would require, while developing more and more trust and self-reliance in their employees. So if we look only at the role of a leader in an organization, it does start at the purple level as the father of the family. And this type of organization are very much family-like or friends. They literally have a lot of people, very close relatives or friends working for the organization. This is very comfortable and very tribe-type organizational culture. That's what you would often see. The more complex level of the red one would require more commanding leadership. So you see on the picture the commander, and it would help the previous issues of organizations of purple level to get out of the comfort zone, reach out to the market, gain more success, more sales, be more self-oriented compared to what was at the previous level. At the same time, it will create at some point a little bit of disorder where the power is the main reason to make decisions. And it may bring to creating a blue structure with the managers who are obeying the rules, having the policies and procedures in place, believing that that is what's leading to the success. And if you look back quite recently and still, in a way, these type of structures where everything, all the processes are defined and the culture is basically to obey the rules of the organization, it was something that really could lead to success. However, in order to achieve more and create outstanding results, the orange value meme was developed later on in order to help people achieve outstanding goals, to make them believe in themselves, have the dreams, crazy dreams to achieve, and being able as an entrepreneur to organize people to follow them. So this is an orange leadership style. At the same time, by achieving more and more, this creates some level of dissatisfaction of everyday life. The burnout is something very common for the orange value meme. And that's where the people manager appears, who start taking care more about how we interact between each other on this new level of communities. And the green systems are based on a lot of discussions in between, everything, keeping an open culture, willing to help people on a very human level. At the same time, this may lower the success and bring less desired outcomes. And the new level of complexity of the thinking would mean that we need to combine all that. We need to integrate all the previous levels, and the visionary is the one who sees how the system can operate at different moments using different aspects of all the previous value systems. I know this is a very, very short walk through these steps, but I hope it gave you some vision of how naturally one value system flows into another. This is just one of the examples based on the leadership role. You can analyze using the spiral dynamics any aspect of organizational life or even outside of that. And here is one of the most famous quotes of Dr. Clay Graves. Damn it, a person has the right to be who he is. So one of the key things about spiral dynamics is that it talks about a change. This is the one of the key concepts. The value systems, which I just described to you, help to understand what kind of change a person, organization, or a team is going through. And the trick here is that you can't push anyone to become something different, because this is a natural, very complex developmental process. So the idea of spiral dynamics is to be able to see these differences and invite real diversity by respecting different values. And as Clay Graves says, let people be who they are and act from those values they believe in. While another famous quote in spiral dynamics world is from Don Beck, who said, "You can't change people, but people can change." And we can add here that they will change by adapting to changing life conditions. And 2020 has been a great example of that. So a couple of words about the assessments you can do using the spiral dynamics for organizational development tasks. It includes three different values of reports. So you can assess the values of an individual or a group, and it will give you values profile. You can also see at what point, at what moment of change this person is, and together with the values assessment, it gives an amazing picture of clarity, clear picture of where the person or a group or an organization is currently in response to the changing situation in the world. At the same time, culture assessment would give an insight into how well individual values are related to the current culture of an organization or structure, which would include some processes. And also to see what is the current situation compared to the desired one. This tool in particular is really helpful in order to plan change, analyze its progress, as well as to understand and understand exact actions that are required to be taken. So if you're feeling you would like to get more information about spiral dynamics, I'm happy to have a discussion around it. We will conduct a series of events and make some blogging on our social media and website in order to develop this topic. So we are very happy to continue this discussion, and let me know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Have a great continue of the day. Thank you for your time.